finding slope, and we're going to take a look at finding slope or rate of change in 3 different ways. First, from finding slope from a table. Next, from finding the slope in a graph. And the last way we'll do it is finding slope just given 2 points. Starting off with, we're going to take a look at finding slope in a table. Taking a look at my first table, I have my x, y values. x1, y of 2, x of 2, y of 4, x of 3, y of 6, x of 4, y of 8. Now, I know my slope or rate of change formula is change of y over change in x. I could also say y of 2 minus y of 1 over x of 2 minus x of 1. In the table, I can just look at the change in y from point to point, and my change in y here from the first set to the second set is a positive 2. And then my change in y from the first set to the second set for my x is a positive 1. Now when we did functions, we took a look to make sure that for every x value there was only one y. Well, we know this is a function, and of course it's a linear function if the rate of change is constant. So I should get the same for each. So from my second point to my third point, I go from 4 to 6, which is a positive 2. And from my second to my third, I get a plus 1. And likewise for the next point, from 6 to 8 is a plus 2. And from 3 to 4 is a plus 1. So I do my change in y over my change in x is a 2 over 1, which in simplest form would simply be 2. My slope for this linear function is 2. What I'd like to do now is take a look at this next one. I have x of 1, y of 8, x of 3, y of 4, x of 5, y of 0, x of 7, y of negative 4. Pause the video now and see if you can find the rate of change. Alright guys, welcome back. You should have come by and found that from the first point to the second you went from 8 to 4, which would be a drop of 4, negative 4. On the x value, you went from 1 to 3, which is up 2. And again, from the second point to the third point, you went down 4. From the second point to the third point, the x value went up 2 again. Constant rate of change, it's a linear function. The x value went up 2 here, and it went down 4 here. So my slope here is a minus 4 over 2, negative 4 over 2, which in simplest form, my slope would be negative 2. That's rate of change or slope, finding slope given tables. If you take a look, there are some more examples for you to do and practice online. As always, feel free to send questions to mrcmathstuff@gmail.com. Alright, before we get started with finding slope from a graph, you might want to make sure you have this written down, if you don't already in your notes. When we're finding slope from a graph, we want to remember slope is rise over run. And when you're finding rise, starting with rise on the graph, if you're starting at one point and going up, it's plus. If you're going down, it's minus. So starting from the first point for your rise, up is plus, down is minus. When we do the run, if you're moving to the right to the next point, that's plus. If you're moving to the left, that's minus. You'll see when we go to the graph that the question always comes up, does it matter which point I go to first? No, if you remember that if you go up it's plus and down it's minus for rise, and right is plus and left is minus for run, it doesn't matter which point you do first. So let's go to the graph. Alright, over at the graph I have 2 lines drawn, one in red and one in a purple. And on the red line I have a point here and a point here. And when I start at the first point, remember I said it's rise over run. And rise, if I go down, it's negative. So to get to the second point from the first, I'm going down, so that's negative, and I'm going down 5. So I'll write down 5,
that's my rise. Over my run, I'm going to the right 5. And as we said earlier, right is positive. So it's negative 5 over 5. So in simplest form, my slope from that graph will be negative 1. Okay. And to check on my graph, that makes sense because when I look at my line, it's a negative slope. It's going downward. My second line, the one in purple, when I look at it, I know that's a positive slope. So I should get a positive number there when I do it. My first point I have right here and my second one here. I'm going to go from this point, my rise, I have to go up 2 to the next point. So that would be a plus 2 for my rise. Over my run, which would be 5. So it's 2 over 5, or 2/5 for my slope for my second line. And to show you it doesn't matter which way I go with the second one, if I started here, my rise would be negative 2. So that would be a negative 2. And my run then to the left would be negative, so that would be negative 5, and a negative divided by a negative is positive, so it still comes out to 2/5. So it doesn't matter either way you go. Just remember our notes from the beginning, rise over run. With the rise, up is positive, down is negative, and with your run, right is positive, to the left is negative. All right, for our last examples of how to find slope, we're going to find slope just given 2 points. Now you can take these 2 points off of a line that's already on the graph, but in some cases you'll just be given the 2 points and you'll have to find the slope. To do that, we're going to use the formula for slope, which is slope equals y of 2 minus y of 1 over x of 2 minus x of 1. Now one thing we want to do is make sure we label which set of coordinates is which. It doesn't matter which is x of 1, y of 1, which is x of 2, y of 2, as long as we're consistent. So to do that, I like to go ahead and label, and right now in red, I'm going to color coordinate here to keep myself straight. My red will be x of 1, y of 1. And my green will be x of 2, y of 2. And I like to label from the start because most of the mistakes we see are made from transposing the x and y coordinates. So if you do that, label them, and if you can color coordinate them, they'll help you to stay together. All right, so I'm going to plug those into my formula then. And my y of 2 to start with is 6. So I have 6 minus my y of 1, which is 2. And that's over my x of 2, which is 5, minus my x of 1, which is 3. Okay. And then I go ahead and 6 minus 2 is 4. And 5 minus 3 is 2. I put that slope in simplest form, and my slope for this problem is 2. All right, for my next example I have set up, I have my xy coordinates are 4, 8, and 8, 11. You have the formula here. Go ahead and now pause the video, see if you can do this one, and we'll come back and check it together. All right, when you started off, you saw I already had it color coordinated and labeled for you. Hopefully you did the same thing in your notebook. Don't just look at it and think, ooh, I don't need to do that. Trust me on this one, yeah you do. Just keep it organized to go all the way through. Get in the habit of doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my y of 2 in green is 11, minus my y of 1, which is 8. And that's over my x of 2, which is 8,
x of 1 is 4. And I just go ahead and subtract across. 11 minus 8 is 3. 8 minus 4 is 4. My slope for this set is 3/4. 3 over 4. Rise of 3, run of 4. Okay, those were the 3 ways you can go ahead and find slope: using a table, using a graph, or just given 2 pairs of coordinates. Right now, go ahead on Blackboard. I have some other practice problems for you there. You can go ahead and try those, and as always, you can email any questions you have to mrcmathstuff@gmail.com. Thank you very much, guys. Don't forget, you can go through this again if you need to. Pause it whenever you need to, as many times as you need to, and then go back and try those extra examples.